Anytime.
Okay. Why do you believe that visual arts in elementary schools are beneficial?
Well, there are multiple reasons that they're beneficial. If you talk about just child development and how children access the knowledge that they have, art allows them to increase their links between information that they already know to new information. And what we know about brain research is that the more you make those links, the more likely it is that it stays in your memory, that you can utilize it later, and that you can take those links and build off them. So you're starting with a small bit of knowledge that you might get in an art classroom at elementary, but then you're allowing that to be utilized in all of the other things that you'll be doing throughout elementary school. So that's an awesome part. The other part is developmental. It's a physical development. There's so much of the work that you do with different art tools that just require different muscles, different thought patterns. And so kids that have a tendency maybe to be really good at physical athletics, that they've really developed that part of their body. Another way to challenge them is having them participate in an art class that makes them work a different kind of muscle. And then, of course, it's just a load of fun. Oh, that's the biggest reason, too.
Okay. My second question is, why do you believe that most elementary schools no longer have art classes included in the curriculum?
Well, I think there are two reasons for that. The first is, of course, funding. Our schools are funded based on the economy of our state. And as our economy ebbs and flows, does really well, booms, and then busts, does very poorly, we have a fluctuating amount of money to spend. And so we are always adding programs and taking programs based on what we have for funding. And so because there are also additional requirements that the federal government requires of schools, that sometimes there's just not enough money to do all of the great things that you want to do. The one thing that's really great about our school district, that although it isn't fully done throughout the district, there are elementary teachers who have a love of art and find the value of that in their classrooms, and so they're making an effort to incorporate it in any way they can. Sometimes it's just a Friday where it's an hour of art. Sometimes it's a math lesson or a science lesson about some art principle that they'll practice with, because there's such a tight correlation between all of the other subjects, core subjects, math, science, language arts, social studies, that's entirely related to art. We can definitely connect them. So sadly, we don't have here in our district a program that allows for full art production classes at the elementary, but we're trying to limp along as best we can.
Okay, my third question is, how do you feel visual art experiences aid in a student's competence in math, science, and literature?
Well, the really great thing, and I really believe this, it's philosophically I think this is right, a kid's exposure at the elementary level, we know that children at that level are just sponges for information. And the truth is we don't really outgrow that. We're always sponges for information. What changes is that we take different paths, we choose different focuses. And so it's only that we end up being, changing maybe from what we consider ourselves as elementary kids to being artists as adults and saying, no way, I'm definitely not an artist, can't draw. But when you have a child who's in that, at the elementary level and in that frame of mind of being willing to explore and take risks that as we get older we become less and less willing to do, it's a great opportunity. We had talked earlier about our economy. We live in a country that is founded on creativity, the ability to really create something from nothing. And that process of thinking, of taking a risk, of trying and trying and trying, even though, golly, it doesn't turn out 100 times, is important to maintain. And if we can foster that at the elementary level for students that say, you know what, it's okay to take a risk. It's okay to totally, the art project bombs, because it's a place that it's not the end of the world if it doesn't turn out. And and having that confidence that, you know what, I can make it work, I can stick with something, and even though it didn't work out the first time, it might work out later.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.